and say, I know there is we are sorry, Unyamiti as for. Make come in the say, and the Jumanji soon could be passo. United States for more so, Italy for us, Belgium for us. Where are your program here? Woman mingle together, and on this argument here we say, Abraham. What I'm saying that is, this is the time that we are going to hear from OMAN Israel, where the Christians, where we come from, and you can only hear, you can only know your background only from these teachings. So please keep your radio here and then listening to the program that is about to start. So I'm about to hand over the microphone or the line to the leader, Papa Edium. So Papa Edium, I welcome you to Nkunim Radio. Your listeners are ready to hear from you.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you from the studio. The first thing is I want to welcome our brothers from the United States, from the camp of Israel United in Christ, and this is a nation, a remnant of the nation of Israel, who have awoken to their full identity and the full knowledge of themselves. And for a long time, I understand they've been teaching, and they have a big organization. They are even teaching today. I think this year they've been into Ghana, and I think next year they'll also be in Ghana. And the purpose is that being a descendant of the slaves and having come up to the fullness of their identity, that they are not Africans, and that certain labels that have been labeled onto them. And from them, that I also even heard that the Akans in Ghana, we are also part of the lordship of the house of Israel that Jesus Christ spoke about in Matthew chapter 15 verse 24 and going down. So I decided to bring them on this program so that they will be able to help us to understand much better, because the whole understanding, the whole revelation of this truth began with them, and we thank God for that. And we believe that whatever began with them, they might have it much better, and then they may be able to help our listeners and our brothers and sisters who are also scattered all over in Europe, and even our presence in Europe. And from what they teach, I understand is part of the prophecy that we shall be moving up and down throughout the whole nations of this earth. So I welcome Bishop Nathanyel Israel and Captain Isaac. Am I right, Captain? Welcome, sirs. And before I pray, I would want you to introduce yourself to our audience. So you have the platform. You introduce yourself, and if you have a short word, then I'll pray and begin the whole stuff.
Okay, I'm Bishop Nathanyel, as you stated, Israel United in Christ. I have Captain Isaac with me. How you doing? We are teaching the gospel that the blacks that went into slavery through the transatlantic slave trade, as well as the sub-Saharan slave trade, are indeed remnants of the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. The reason we suffer as a people is because we broke the commandments given to us by the forefather, the prophet Moses. We broke those commandments and suffered great atrocities as a result. Jesus Christ, who is a black man, came in the year, he was born around the year, as they say, 4 AD. He died on the cross, sacrificed himself for us, okay, to redeem us back to the Heavenly Father, okay? This is the gospel. So now, in these last days, the Bible prophesied that the Lord would send back Elijah the prophet to restore the children of Israel, and which has come and gone. And this truth has taken up steam, and we are waking up one ear at a time, slowly but surely. And all praises to the Most High. Redemption is near. As you see in world events, you see terrorism on the rise, nation warring against nation. The 10 common markets are falling apart as Britain has recently just exited. the EU. And as a result, there will be war on top of war with the European countries and America. And hence will come the entrance of Jesus Christ to redeem the 12 tribes that have been scattered.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bishop Nathanyel. Thank you very much. This is Papa Ni hosting the program. But, you know, like I've said, this program normally is a local-based program. So after we've had all the interactions and everything, Papa Edwin is very fluent in the Twi language. So after the interaction and everything, Papa Edwin will explain to our local audience what you have for us. So, Bishop.
Yes, sir.
Now, please, can you use the Bible to prove to us that the transatlantic slave trade is a Bible prophecy?
Yes.
Yeah. So,
okay.
Before Bishop begins, I just want to remind him that we have 2-hour program. So relax and then go into duties and teach them.
Okay.
Because immediately after that, I have serious questions here I would want you to answer. So please go ahead.
Okay. All right. We're going to open up with, before we open up with the transatlantic slave trade, which I was going to touch in a moment, I do want to touch color briefly.
Okay.
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 For centuries, when we went through Ghana in May,
Okay.
we were shocked and amazed at all the false images of Jesus, which is throughout Ghana. Everybody has the image of a white man selling soup on their buses, on their vehicles, in their churches. It's really no different than America, but I was shocked that Ghana, which is primarily a black nation, had this white image virtually everywhere. Okay. So I want to start with Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, about the first man, Adam.
The book of Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground.
And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground. The dust of the ground is different shades of brown. The dust of the ground ranges from a dark brown to a light brown. Adam, the first man created, was a black man. Taken from him was a black woman, Eve. So I'm shocked when I saw, even in America, where they portrayed Adam and Eve as Caucasian with yellow hair. And I'm like, there's no way that came from the dust of the ground. So we are the original people, okay? Everybody during the beginning was black, everyone. The Caucasian people did not come into existence until Genesis 25:25 with Esau. But that's going to be for another time. I want to touch on color just for a moment longer, please. Let's go to Job 30, verse 30, the prophet Job.
Job 30, verse 30. My skin is black upon me. My bones are burned with heat.
The prophet Job said, my skin is black upon me, and my bones burned with heat. And what I want your listeners to understand, the trick of Christianity has been to say, that doesn't mean that. It just means he's in a bad condition. Let me show you a secret about the Holy Bible. Let's go to Job 11, verse 6. Let me give all your listeners a secret about the Holy Bible. Okay.
Job chapter 11, verse 6. And that he would show thee the secrets of wisdom.
And that he would show thee the secrets of wisdom.
That they are double to that which is.
That they are double. That they are double to that which is. Many times you will read about color, and your oppressor will say, no, it's not color, that's their condition. Guess what? They call me and you black people. But are we really a black people, or are we really brown? yes, is for our condition, yes, as well as our darkened pigmentation. When the Bible uses the word black, it's using it, yes, for their condition, but also for the darkened pigmentation. I'm going to read Job 30 and 30 again now.
Job chapter 30, verse 30. My skin is black upon me, and my bones are burned with heat.
So yes, Job is talking about his condition, and yes, that means it's a double meaning. It's a metaphor, and letting you know he is black. Now, let's go to Jeremiah 14, verse 2. We're reading from the King James Version Bible. Okay, this is what I want all you listeners to understand.
Jeremiah 14, verse 2. Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof languish.
Meaning the leadership of Judah languishes.
They are black unto the ground.
They are black unto the ground. So again, remember, the wisdom of God has double meaning. Okay? So now, let's get Jesus Christ. Okay? Revelation chapter 1, verse 14 and 15. As we taught in Ghana, from Kumasi to Accra, many of the people were shocked that the description of Christ is in the Bible because they've been taught and the gospel has been perverted to believe that Jesus Christ was a white man. Let's read the description of Jesus Christ in Revelation chapter 1. Read verse 1 first.
Revelation chapter 1, verse 1. The revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto him, to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass.
Let's jump down to verse 14.
Verse 14. His head and his hairs.
His head and his hair
were white like wool.
White like wool. Wool is the texture of the hair. The word wool is a texture, okay? The word white there is a color reference, okay? So Jesus Christ did not have straight yellow hair. He had white woolly hair. Now this is in the spirit because, of course, he had already died and resurrected. Now he's presenting himself to John on the island of Patmos. Read on.
As white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire.
When it says his eyes were as a flame of fire, what does that mean? Here we go. Go to Genesis 49. Moses told you about the coming Messiah of Judah. Watch what he says about his eyes.
His eyes, Genesis 49, verse 12. His eyes shall be red with wine.
His eyes shall be red with wine. Did Jesus Christ drink wine? Let's prove that. Give me Matthew 11. And I believe it's verse 19, if I'm not mistaken. Matthew 11, verse 19. Bear with us. Okay. I'm going to show the listeners that Jesus Christ did drink wine.
Matthew 11, verse 19. The Son of Man came eating and drinking. And they say, behold, a man gluttonous and a wine bibber.
Notice they called Jesus Christ a wine bibber. So this fulfills the prophecy when Moses said, the Messiah that comes from Judah, his eyes will be red with wine. Because the scribes and Pharisees called Jesus Christ gluttonous and a wine bibber, meaning he liked to drink wine in moderation. Let's go back to Revelation now.
Revelation chapter 1 and verse 14. His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire. And his feet,
now he looks down at the feet of the Messiah,
like unto fine brass.
Fine brass is brown. Fine brass is brown. Watch this.
As if they burned in a furnace.
So now you take this brown brass, if you burn it in a furnace, it gets very dark. You know what? Hello? Hello?
Hello, yeah.
Okay,
You are
okay.
online. Yeah, Bishop, you are online.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
If you even take white rice and burn it in a furnace, it will get black. So John the Revelator says Jesus Christ's feet looked like they were burned in the furnace. Now, I don't know about you. My feet and my hands and face are the same color. That's true with all people of the earth. Your face, your hands, your feet are the same color. Okay? So the Bible describes Jesus Christ. Now, let's see if that is any other reference to. Go to Daniel, the book of Daniel, chapter 10, verse 5 and 6. The prophet Daniel saw a vision of the Messiah, the messenger of God. Watch what he said about him.
Daniel chapter 10 and verse 5. Then I lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with fine gold of Uphaz. His body also was like the beryl.
The word beryl means green. He had on a green garment.
And his face as the appearance of lightning.
So he had a halo, glow coming from his face. Go ahead.
And his eyes as lamps of fire.
That's the same thing Moses wrote and John wrote. Go ahead.
And his arms.
And his arms.
And his feet.
And his feet.
Like in color.
Like in color.
To polished brass.
Polished brass means brass burned in a furnace. So Daniel saw the vision of Messiah, the messenger of God. It said his arms and feet in color to polished brass, meaning brass burned in a furnace. So, now remember that one of the ancestors of Jesus Christ was King Solomon. Let's go to the Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 1. So, what we're doing now is proving color in the Bible. Okay, because for too long we've been reproached by our enemies who taught us color's not in the Bible. Watch
the Song of Solomon, chapter 1 and verse 1. The Songs of Songs, which is Solomon's.
The Song of Songs, which is Solomon's. Now, real quick, watch this. Give me 1 Kings, chapter 4. Watch this. I just want to prove that the Song of Songs was written by Solomon and not a woman.
1 Kings chapter 4, verse 30.
So we're in 1 Kings chapter 4 and verse 30.
And Solomon's wisdom excelled the wisdom of all the children of the east country, and all the wisdom of Egypt, for he was wiser than all men, than Ethan the Ezrahite, and Heman, and Chalcol, and Darda, the sons of Mahal. And his fame was in all nations round about. And he spake 3,000 proverbs, and his songs were 1,005.
See that? And his songs were 1,005. So when we go back to the Song of Solomon, and the reason I wanted to prove that Solomon wrote it, there's a lie in Christianity that a woman wrote the Song of Solomon. So verse 1, one more time.
The Songs of Songs, which is Solomon.
Now verse 5.
I am black, but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem.
I am black, but comely. Comely means good looking, handsome. I am black and good looking, Solomon says. So King Solomon is telling you and me he's black. He's meaning what? Dark complexion. That's what he's doing. So the question is, what happened to the descendants of Solomon, Christ, Job, Jeremiah? What happened to these black descendants? Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28. Now I can give you a lot more color with Moses and Miriam. There's some, okay? Yeah. But let's go to the transatlantic slave trade.
Yeah. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15.
So now, let me briefly explain what's happening. The Israelites, the 12 tribes, have just made an exodus from Egypt, which is in Africa, okay? We were in bondage in Egypt for 400 years. The ancient Egyptians were called today like the Watusis, okay? Men of stature, very tall, very extremely tall in height and stature. We were in bondage there for 400 years. We now have made an exodus. We are in the wilderness, and God tells Moses to warn the 12 tribes of Israel
not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So Moses is telling the 12 tribes of Israel, if you break God's commandments, all these curses will come upon you and overtake you. Now we're going to read some of the curses. I'd like to jump down to verse 32.
Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people.
Thy sons and thy daughters will be given unto another people, meaning another race of people.
And thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long.
And your eyes shall look and fail with longing for your children all the day long.
And there shall be no might in thine hand.
There would be no might in your hand, meaning no economic might, no military might, to restore yourselves as a nation of people. So that's verse 32. I'm just giving in brief certain precepts, all right? Let's jump down to verse 37.
Before you move on, Bishop, I think this is just a blessing and curses in the Bible, or not?
Yes. We're reading the curses. The blessings of verse 1 through 14. Verse 15 through 68 are the curses. The curses are what we want to examine because of the condition we're in today. We exemplified the curses.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Because the reason why I asked the question is that most Christians or most Bible readers, whatever, they think that these are just blessings and curses and it can happen to anybody. That's why I'm asking that question. So you would have to prove to us how and why this applies to you and us. That's what I'm asking.
Yes.
Okay. Small interjection. Actually, I also posted this question to a pastor, and what he told me is Christ has redeemed us from the curses of the Lord. So I guess after your explanation, you also deal with this kind of understanding.
Yes, we will. So, let's go back to Deuteronomy 28, and we're going to prove, according to prophecy and history, that these curses only fit our people. Go ahead. Verse 37.
Verse 37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee.
A proverb and a byword. Moses is letting the Israelites know our nationalities would be changed. We would become proverbs and bywords, meaning called something else other than what God calls us. God calls us Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Ephraim, Manasseh. The curses say you would no longer be called that. You would be called by the words proverbs and bywords.
Excuse me, Bishop.
Yes.
Are you saying that these prophecies, these prophetic blessings and curses apply specifically to, because you're making me to understand that he is speaking to a group of people and not just the whole world, or not just any individuals who come to believe God and all that. Is this applying to a people, or anybody who picks the Bible and then he begins to believe in the Bible, and then at a point in time probably he sins, and then these blessings has to come to him when he's doing the he's following the scriptures, or if he's not, for example, in the Christian church, they say, well, if you don't pay the tithe, probably these curses will come upon you. So I would want you, as you explain, you differentiate that this is happening to a group of people, a nation, or any other person who picks the Bible today. Because when you go to church today, they'll be teaching this very verse, this very chapter will be quoted. The thing that you are going through will be mentioned, and sort of applying to the people who are sitting there as individuals. So that's what I want you to bring the distinction, so that it's not like somebody picks the Bible, become a Christian, study in it, and then he follows the Bible, these things will happen to him. If he doesn't follow the Bible, will happen to him. That's what I want to get a distinction.
Okay. Watch this. Let's go to the chapter before it.
Okay.
Deuteronomy 27, verse 1, just to prove that.
Deuteronomy chapter 27, verse 1. And Moses which Moses spake unto all Israel.
So Moses is speaking to a particular race of people. Moses is speaking to all the people of Israel.
I hope that does not apply to spiritual Israelites. Or
Oh, no. There's no such thing as spiritual Israelites.
really?
Yeah.
You find that in the Bible, spiritual Israel. That's something the white man made up to confuse the people.
Oh, okay.
All of a sudden, Israel has disappeared and it
Right.
has become spiritual.
Exactly.
Like
Is there such a thing as spiritual Chinese or spiritual Arabs? There's no such thing as that. Likewise, there's no such thing as spiritual Israel.
And when a Chinese man converts to Islam, he's not an Arab man.
Yeah, exactly. Not at all. Not at all.
Thank you.
So let's go back to Deuteronomy 28. And let's read verse 48 now. 48.
Deuteronomy 28, verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies,
So Moses says, therefore shall you serve your enemies.
which the Lord shall send against thee,
The Lord sent our enemies against us.
in hunger
It meaning if you want food, you got to serve your enemies.
and in thirst
If you want water, you got to serve your enemy.
and in nakedness
If you want clothing, you got to serve your enemies.
and in want of all things.
If you want anything, even education, you have to serve your enemies to get it. Right?
And he
And he, your enemy, what would our enemies do?
shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
So Moses said your enemies would put yokes of iron upon your neck until he have destroyed thee. That did not happen to all races on the planet. That did not happen to anybody that picks up the Bible. That happened to a particular group of people, okay? Those of us who came from the west coast of Africa and went on ships, they put yokes of iron upon our necks, okay? Those of us, for example, just for example, notice it said you would serve your enemies for, read it again.
Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst
and in thirst.
and in nakedness.
When you look at the history of Belgium, for example, the blacks in the Congo under King Leopold, who suffered atrocious colonialism, okay? They had to serve this demonic white man for food, for clothing, for water, for any little thing. And if we did not bring gold, rubber, or resources, they cut our hands off. They cut our extremities off. They did a lot of atrocities to us. Likewise did they do to us that came to the Americas over here. So read verse 48 one more time.
Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger
In hunger,
and in thirst
in thirst,
and in nakedness
meaning clothing.
and in want of all things.
If you want anything, even education, you must serve your enemy.
And he
And he, your enemy,
shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck.
he shall put yokes of iron upon your neck. That happened to us during the transatlantic slave trade. Yes, it did. Right?
Until he have destroyed thee.
Now you see that part where it says, until he have destroyed thee? When the blacks in America were so-called emancipated in 1863 is when they took the yokes of iron off our necks. So what does that prove? They took the yokes of iron off our necks when we were mentally destroyed as a people. Read that bottom part again.
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
Until he hath destroyed thee. So the yokes of iron came off our necks, proving we've been and spiritually destroyed. We are still alive, but our people are mentally destroyed. I give you an example of that verse. When you have a pet, like a dog, for example, and you have a leash on his neck, a collar, and you must train him how far to go, when to sit, when to stand, when to roll over, when to eat on command. You take the leash off when you have broken the dog's spirit, when you have broken him mentally, okay? Then because he will always do what you say. This is what the white man did to the slaves, okay? The yokes of iron are off our neck now. We are mentally and spiritually broken as a people. We call ourselves Negroes as he commanded us. We call ourselves African Americans as he commanded us. We love white Jesus as he commanded us. We celebrate such false holidays as Christmas as he commanded us. So now, watch this. Let's jump down to verse 46. Let me show you verse 46.
Verse 46. And they shall be upon thee for a sign.
Read verse 45 a moment. Read 45.
Verse 45. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee and shall pursue thee.
All these curses shall come upon thee and shall pursue thee.
And overtake thee.
And overtake thee.
Till thou be destroyed.
Till thou be destroyed as a people. Read.
Because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
Because we did not keep the commandments.
To keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign.
The they are the curses. The curses that we're reading would be upon you for a sign. What is the sign? That whoever fits these curses, you are the children of Israel. Go ahead.
And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever.
And upon thy seed, your children forever.
Right.
So this is talking about a particular race of people. What race? The true Israelites.
Okay.
Now, the reason I wanted that verse, because many Christians say, Deuteronomy 28, the blessings and the curses, talk about the Assyrian captivity and the Babylonian captivity. That's what they always say. But watch the bottom of verse 46 again.
And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever.
Do you see the word forever? Forever doesn't mean it stops with Babylonian captivity. These curses came upon us with Assyrian captivity, Babylonian captivity, Greek captivity, Roman captivity, Spain's captivity, Portuguese captivity, the Dutch captivity, French captivity, British captivity, American captivity. Oh, how can I forget the Arab captivity of the sub-Saharan slave trade? These curses would be upon us and our seed, our children, forever. Forever.
Right.
I want your listeners to understand what that means.
Right.
Forever means a long time.
A long time. Yeah. Bishop, can I come in here over here? I just want to make a point clear here for my listeners over here. And what I'm understanding is that slavery, because you started with slavery in Egypt 430 years, and then now what Moses is bringing out in detail, giving specifics of how the slavery is going to be, how the people are going to be destroyed. I'm beginning to understand, if you agree with me, that basically slavery has always been the single sign of to identify the seed of Israel. Because in Genesis, I understand that this is what was told to Moses Abraham in Genesis chapter 15 and chapter 17. That we are going to serve our people, we're going to serve our enemies for 400 years, and then when the sins of Amorites is full, and then we'll be. So the emphasis that I'm making here in the minds of our people is that slavery is and has always been a sign over on our people, beginning with Abraham, which happened in Egypt, and then slavery, which happened. Because what I'm saying, the reason why I'm saying this is that where I live in Ghana, secondly, I've been selling and I've been moving around, I've been playing around fort, castles, slave castles and slave forts. And I never knew what those structures meant to me. You understand? So I would want our listeners to understand to this point that slavery has been a very single sign. And not just any slavery, but as it's being described in detail and specifics in the scriptures. Can you go ahead, please?
Yes, sir.
And Bishop, a little interjection. Now, while we are talking of slavery,
we have to remind our listeners that the slavery is also the tribulation. Because there are also people over there saying that we have pre-tribulation, post-tribulation, and all these things. Yeah, because that is another thing. So while we are discussing the slave trade, our people must understand that it is through many tribulations that we are going to enter into the kingdom. You see, tribulation upon the earth, but to the Jew first. So our listeners must also understand that.
That's right. That's right. You're correct.
Okay.
So now, let's go down to the last verse of Deuteronomy 28. The last verse.
Deuteronomy 28, verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
I want your listeners to hear, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt. I want to pause with the word Egypt. What does it make reference to? Let's go to the book of Exodus, chapter 20 and verse 2, where Moses explains the synonymous symbolism or meaning behind the word Egypt.
Exodus 20, verse 2. I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage.
Do you see how in Exodus 20, verse 2, it calls Egypt the house of bondage? So when we go back to Deuteronomy 28, verse 68, watch again.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
Meaning the house of bondage again.
With ships.
With what?
With ships.
So Moses said, this Egypt, this house of bondage you would go into, you would go by way of ships. What kind of ships? Cargo slave ships. Let's read on.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee.
By the way Moses prophesied it, it shall happen.
Thou shalt see it no more again.
You will not see the promised land no more again.
And there,
once you got off the slave ships,
ye shall be sold unto your enemies.
You shall be sold unto your enemies.
For bondmen.
For bondmen means slave men.
And bondwoman.
Bondwoman means slave woman.
And no man shall buy you.
And no man shall buy you, meaning save you from your condition. Think of all the great black leaders that tried to save us from bondage under the hand of the white man. You had leaders in America like Martin Luther King, Nat Turner, Denmark Vesey, Malcolm X, give me some more. Sojourner Truth, Marcus Garvey.
Yeah, in Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah tried. In Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah tried.
In South Africa, you had Nelson Mandela, who tried to redeem the people from the hand of the white man. We have always failed because there's only one Redeemer, one Savior.
Okay.
That's Jesus Christ. Okay? So, did all races who say, because people will say, a lot of people went into slavery, but everybody did not go into slavery and their nationality was changed, their language was changed, their families were divided up, they went on slavery on ships. That did not happen to all people that pick up the Bible. That didn't happen to the Chinese. It didn't happen to the Greeks. It did not happen to the Italians. Okay? When you talk about, like you just mentioned earlier, oh, watch this. Give me, because you made a mention, you said slavery is one of the major signs of who the Israelites are, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm understanding from what you're teaching.
Yes. Go to Jeremiah chapter 2 and verse 14.
Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 14. Is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Why is he spoiled?
So Jeremiah asks, is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Meaning, every time you read the Bible, most of the time the children of Israel are in slavery, captivity. This is like what you're saying, like you brought up. That is one of the major signs of who the children of Israel are, where the seed and who the seed of Israel is.
Okay. Now, I would want to ask a quick question because I believe that Israel would have to live a certain lifestyle, follow certain customs to be able for them for the Most High to be able to bring these things upon them. Can you quickly teach our people what exactly that they did when they got to the land that finally these curses were put upon them? Because the reason why I'm asking this question is that when you go to all the tribes in Ghana specifically, our kings, our leaders, our chiefs, every one of them they are worshiping demons and Satan. And there's another aspect we call the ancestral worship. And I want you to, because that's what the question they ask you. How come they are worshiping idols over there? If they are the children of Israel, they're supposed to worship God. They're supposed to, you understand what I'm saying? So how would you prove to our people that probably this is where God started and they've continued to this point? Is my question clear, Bishop?
Yes, sir. Yes,
right.
Sir.
Thank you. Help us.
We're going to go to back to Deuteronomy 28. Let's go back there. Deuteronomy 28. Watch this. And I want to read the verse 64.
Deuteronomy 28, verse 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone.
So Moses prophesied that as a result of our sin, when we went into slavery, we would go and worship other gods, even wood gods and stone gods. So this goes back to why many of our people are worshiping these false idols today. Okay, so now, give me Deuteronomy 32 and verse 17. I believe it is. You know what I want? Okay. Deuteronomy 32, verse 17.
Deuteronomy 32, verse 17. Verse 16. They provoked him to jealousy with strange gods, with abomination provoked they him to anger. Verse 17. They sacrificed unto devils, not to God, to gods whom they knew not, to new gods that came newly up, whom your fathers feared not.
So all through the Bible, it is prophesied that we would serve these false gods. Okay? Now, ancestral worship, can we get that? I believe it's Deuteronomy, about necromancy and things of that nature. Yeah. Okay? We're going to get the scriptures that talk about us worshiping our familiar spirits. He used the word familiar. Bear with me a second. Okay?
Okay.
Here we go. Give me Leviticus 19, 31.
Leviticus chapter 19, verse 31. Regard not them that have familiar spirits.
Familiar spirits goes into ancestral worship.
Right.
Worshipping spirits that are familiar to you.
Okay.
It says don't regard them, right?
Neither seek after wizards.
Neither seek after wizards.
To be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God.
So now, watch, let's go to Leviticus 20 now, and verse 6.
Leviticus 20, verse 6. And the soul that turneth after such as have familiar spirits, and after wizards, to go a-whoring after them, I will even set my face against that soul, and will cut him off from among his people.
So there's a judgment for ancestral worship in dealing with witchcraft. Okay? So this is why Christ is very important. Because under Moses, you were to be put to death. But the new covenant of Christ, we have forgiveness and mercy.
Right.
This is why we must teach Messiah.
Yeah, there are questions concerning the new covenant. I'll get to that. Now, quickly, this is another question that I would like to ask you. Because the general perception is that Israel is supposed to be rich. Israel is supposed to be wealthy because they are the people of God, even if they are to be scattered. So how come our people are so poor? You went to Ghana and you saw poverty walking. Because I'm coming from Ghana just a month ago. And anytime I go back, I see poverty walking. Rarely poverty walking. You see. Now, how do you respond to that? Because When we teach our people, that's what the question most of them ask. How come we are so poor if we are the children of God? If we are the seed of Abraham who's supposed to be blessed? Please react to this question.
We have to go right back to Deuteronomy 28 is one of the most pivotal chapters in the Bible.
Okay.
Yeah. Deuteronomy 28. Watch this. We're going to read verse 15 again, down 17.
Deuteronomy 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Cursed shalt thou be in the city.
Meaning, whatever cities you live in, you Israelites, if you break the commandments, you would be cursed. Go ahead.
And cursed shalt thou be in the field.
Whatever fields you have, the fields would be cursed. Go ahead.
Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store.
Cursed shall be your basket and your store, meaning your economics would be cursed.
Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body and the fruit of thy land.
So your children would be cursed, and your lands, your fruits of the lands would be cursed.
Right. Bishop, you said something that is interesting here. You said something that is interesting concerning our economy. You said something that is interesting because are you saying that because in Ghana, 80% of the populations are from the Akans? The Akans are not only the Asantis. We are 80% of the country called Ghana. And are you saying because we form the majority of the land, the curse is going to affect the economy? What I'm trying to say is that when God wanted to punish Israel by bringing in Assyria, he punished all the nations that are around because they had a connection with Israel. Are you saying that the nation of Ghana, the economy is, because last year, the whole economy was given into the hands of IMF. The white man ran the economy for a while. So are you prophetically saying that the economy is not going to change because of the people, the bulk of the people in the country are Israelite? And because of that curse is going to affect. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yes.
Can you explain?
Now, like in America, you will have a few of our people who and when you look in America, you have people who have money. But the curses is talking about us as a whole, as a nation of people. That's what the curses are talking about. So this is why our economy is so bad, because we are in the midst of sin. People often ask, how come God is not punishing the white man or the Chinese the way he's punishing us? I'm going to show you why God is punishing us on a different level. Let's go to Amos, the book of Amos, chapter 3, and verse 1 and 2. Because we often get the question, well, the Chinese and the white man sin, how come they're not cursed like the blacks? Here's the answer.
Amos chapter 3, verse 1 and 2. Hear this word that the Lord hath spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore I will punish you for all your iniquity.
You see that? So the Lord said, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. God does not know the white man. He does not know the Chinese, the Arabs, the East Indian. He says, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore, I will punish you.
Right. I have another question.
God gave us his divine laws. We broke his divine laws.
Exactly.
So we suffer the curses, the punishments.
Right. Now, we will come back to this very verse because I have another question at the end of the discussion. Now, my question right now is, has to do with the migration pattern, how we fled into Africa. Now, can you show our audience, because even though most of them know that before 1957, our identity was Gold Coast, and after 1957, our identity was changed to be Ghana, and that is questionable. Now, before the 1885, when the colony started, it started in 1885. Before that time, our identity, I ask question, what was our identity? And then that is where people stop and they cannot go back. And I think that explains how that explains the fact that they are lost. They don't know who they are. Now, can you go into the scriptures? Beginning the scriptures, probably I know you may end up in the prophet history. Prophet history, I mean the world history. So can you go to begin with the scriptures and show our people the pattern of migration? I mean, just something to help them to understand. If we are Israelites, how did we get started and how did we get down to Ghana?
Okay. It's very good that you made mention historically that the nationality of the people of Ghana has been changing. Okay?
Right.
That's accurate. That is what we just read in Deuteronomy 28, verse 37. I'm going to stop there, then I'm going to jump back and show you.
Right.
Come on. Yeah. Deuteronomy 28, verse 37. One more time. Man, listen.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb and a byword among all nations whither the Lord shall lead thee.
Right, so one time you were called Gold Coast, now you're called Ghana. Now the name is always changing. These are proverbs and bywords. Now watch this. Give me Isaiah chapter 1, verse 3. Many of us can only go back so far. Like you said, well, what happened? Our people, we are always confused as to who we were, what was our names, how did the change happen? Watch this.
Isaiah chapter 1, verse 3. The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib. But Israel doth not know, my people doth not consider.
So an ox knows his owner and even an ass. Those are two dumb animals. But God says prophetically, the Israelites would not know who their owner is. The Israelites would not know who they are. So this is true for us today. We are always lost. This is why Christ called us the lost sheep of Israel. So now, what happened historically? I'm going to start with Christ first. Let's go to the book of Matthew, chapter 2, and verse 13.
Matthew chapter 2 and verse 13. And when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeareth to Joseph in a dream, saying, Arise, and take the young child and his mother, and flee into Egypt.
So the angel told Joseph to take his wife and his child, his son Jesus, and flee into Africa. Okay? Because when you look at geography, the land of Israel is practically almost adjacent to the continent of Africa. So they fled into Africa. Was that it?
And be thou there until I bring thee word, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him.
So the angel told them, stay there until I give you word, because Herod, which was the white man, will seek to kill the baby Christ. Now, what relevance is that for us? Let's go to the book of Luke, chapter 21, and let's start at verse 20.
Luke 21, verse 20. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies.
When you see Jerusalem compassed by the Roman armies, the white man,
then know that the desolation thereof is nigh.
The destruction of 70 AD is near.
Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains.
Flee to the mountains. What were the mountains we fled to? The same way that Christ, the angel told Joseph to take Mary and Christ into Africa, Christ is telling us to flee also. Run. Get out of Jerusalem. Get out of Israel. Run. It's easier for us to run. Those of us that were near the southern border, we fled down into Africa. Watch. Read it again.
Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto.
He said, and don't come back to the land of Israel. Go ahead.
For these be the days of vengeance.
For these be the days of vengeance. Go ahead.
That all things which are written.
That all things which were written, which is Deuteronomy 28, 15 through 68.
May be fulfilled. But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days.
So you women that have children, when Rome comes against you, it's going to be hard for you. Right?
But there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword.
Here it comes. You Israelites, you shall fall by the edge of the sword. Meaning Rome would kill a lot of you, right?
And shall be led away captive into all nations.
And to you Israelites which are captured by Rome, you shall be led away as slaves into all nations.
And Jerusalem
And Jerusalem.
shall be trodden down of the Gentiles.
So you see that Jesus is telling you that Gentiles live in Jerusalem up until this day. Go ahead.
Until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled.
So notice, two major events happened when Rome came against us. A large remnant of us fled into Africa. Another remnant was caught and captured by Rome. Do you see that? Then he tells you that Jerusalem would be overtaken by the Gentiles, the white man. The white man is the Gentile who lives in Jerusalem.
Right.
So again, I want your listeners to understand, a large remnant of us fled out of Israel into Africa. We went through Egypt and went further down along towards the west coast.
Good,
Yes.
good. Bishop, thank you for such an express explanation. Now, what I would want you to establish is, are you saying, according to Luke 21:24, are you saying affirmatively that, because it reads that they shall be led away captive into all nations. Are you saying that, irrespective of the proofs that we have given, that it's the fact still remains that in every nation Israelites are there, including Ghana? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, because when I read what you just read, it says that they will be led as slaves into all nations. So there's no dispute about the fact that there are Israelites in Ghana, and people should wake up, because Ghana is a country now on this continent, and that's what I want you to affirm for us.
Yes. Now, Bishop, just also one interjection. Like, while we are doing the program, we also inform our listeners to also go into research. Now, I think when they Google 1747 Negro land map, and when they enlarge it, you see Negro land. You see, there's the kingdom of Judah there in the west coast of Africa.
Yes.
So therefore, it means when these Caucasians, these Edomites are coming against us, they know who Judah is.
Yes. Yes.
So anybody listening to this program, they can Google and check for themselves.
That's right. It's like in Benin. They have one of the slave castles in Benin is Fort Judah.
Yeah.
Okay? Or Uda.
Or with
They have different pronunciations for it, but it's the same word.
Okay.
Perfect.
Now,
Perfect.
I want to ask a question. Can we fast back a little bit? Because this one, according to what you're saying, happened in 70 AD. That's when a huge multitude of Israelites fled into Africa. Now, is it the first time, or before then, had they ever been moved into Africa before?
When you read the Bible, we had colonies in Africa.
Okay.
Like when you read in the book of Maccabees, I don't know if you're familiar with that. The Apocrypha was removed out of the King James Bible in the 1700s.
Okay.
But it was a part of the original text. It was the Apocrypha was in the Septuagint as well as the Vulgate Bible. And it tells you in the book of Maccabees that Israel had colonies in Africa.
Okay.
Okay? So, I want to show you another one. Give me the one about Ethiopia. Yeah, Zephaniah. Watch this.
Yeah.
Go to Zephaniah.
Zephaniah chapter 3 and verse 10.
We're in Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 10.
Okay.
What I want to show you is when Christ told the Israelites to flee from Israel, a lot of us fled from Israel, and watch what happened here in Zephaniah.
From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia,
From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia,
my suppliants,
my suppliants,
even the daughter of my dispersed,
see that even the daughter, the children of my dispersed,
shall bring mine offering.
go ahead,
In that day shalt thou not be ashamed for all thy doings, wherein thou hast transgressed against me. For then will I take away out of the midst of thee them that rejoice in thy pride, and thou shalt no more be haughty because of my holy mountain. I will also leave in the midst of thee an afflicted and poor people.
An afflicted and poor people.
And they shall trust in the name of the Lord, the remnant of Israel.
The remnant of Israel. So notice, it said from at the verse 10 one more time.
From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia.
Beyond. You see the word beyond the rivers of Ethiopia?
Yep.
So he's not just saying in Ethiopia. He says beyond that even, the dispersed of the Israelites are there. That's what the Bible is saying. So the white man has never been an Israelite. The white man has never been a Jew. The white man is the devil, the Bible speaks of. He's of the nation of Esau, of Edom.
Okay.
So
And that brings me to my next question, Bishop. Sorry for the interruption. My next question is, it has to do with the Bible, because we understand that during the slavery and then during the colonial, when they finally came to settle in the castles which our people were kept in there, that is when they had the church up, and then they had the slaves in the dungeon which was below. When you come to my hometown, Cape Coast, you find those artifacts over there. Now, the question is, we have been made to understand that the Bible is a white man, because a white man's book, because that is how we got in contact with the book, irrespective of the proof that you have given. How do you explain that? Because I have graduate university students who are arguing that the Bible is in fact a white man's book, and Christianity is a white man's religion and all that. Can you react to that?
Okay. Number one, the Bible is not a white man's book. As we proved in the beginning of the show, color in the Bible. Solomon was black, Adam was black, Jesus was black, Job was black. Then we proved the slavery of the people of Solomon in Christ, going into slavery. So it is a misconception of our people who say the Bible is a white man's book. That thought comes from white supremacy, okay? When they conquered us, they taught us, those they colonized and enslaved, they taught us the Bible is a white man's book. But we're finding out it's not their book. Let's go to Psalms 50. And what verse we go? Verse 16.
Psalms 50, verse 16. But unto the wicked God saith.
But unto the wicked God saith.
What hast thou to do to declare my statutes?
What hast thou to do to teach my Bible?
Or that thou shouldest take my covenant into thy mouth.
Or that thou shouldest take my old covenant and new covenant in your mouth.
Seeing thou hatest instruction.
Seeing thou hatest instruction. This is what God is saying to the wicked. The wicked who took the covenant of God in their mouth, hating instruction, is the white man here, right?
And casteth my words behind them.
And they cast God's words behind them, right?
When thou sawest a thief.
When the white man sees a thief,
then thou consentest with him.
He agrees with the thief.
And has been partaker with adultery.
And the white man is an adulterer in the earth.
Thou givest thy mouth to evil.
Thou givest thy mouth to evil.
And thy tongue frameth deceit.
Go ahead.
Thou sittest and speakest against thy brother.
See that? Thou sittest and speakest against thy brother. You got to know the history of Jacob and Esau. Jacob is the father of the Israelites. Esau, which is the white man. Remember, they were fraternal twins, looking different. Esau came out red. Jacob came out smooth, black, and comely. Good looking. Read on.
Thou sittest and speakest against thy brother. Thou slanderest thine own mother's son. These things hast thou done, and I kept silent.
And God kept silent as Esau did all this wickedness. Go ahead.
Thou thoughtest that I was altogether such an one as thyself.
The wicked, which is Esau, thought God was one as himself. That's why he painted God as a white man, right?
But I will reprove thee.
But God says he will reprove the wicked, which is Esau,
and set them in order before thine eyes.
You see that verse right there? What verse was that?
21.
Read verse 21 again.
These things hast thou done, and I kept silence. Thou thoughtest that I was altogether such an one as thyself. But I will reprove thee, and set them in order before thine eyes.
I will set them in order before thine eyes. Who is God going to set in order? The 12 tribes of Israel. He's setting us in order before the eyes of the enemies of God.
Thank you.
Before the eyes of the wicked.
Thank you, Bishop. Hello?
Can I also add something to it? Now, I think our listeners must also understand that the Bible was copied to the white man, that is the Greeks, while our people were living in Egypt, Alexandria, in 132 BC. Now, it was chosen by our 70 of the scribes of Israel that they copied the Bible to the white man, the Greeks, which is called the Septuagint, meaning copied by what? 70 scribes. So when you have a copied version of a covenant, a covenant book of certain people, it doesn't make you the author of the book.
Okay.
Bishop, I don't know whether you agree with me.
No, you're right. Because
Okay.
when you read the history in Alexandria, which was in Egypt, they had a huge library. And they wanted the elders of Israel to translate our scriptures into Greek so that they can better understand it. That's historically accurate, yes.
That's it. And they saw within that the only way we can conquer these people is only when they divorce with their God. So they taught the Israelites all the ways of the heathen.
Okay.
Yes.
That is how they were able to conquer us as a people. So with this, the white man is not the author of the Bible.
Thank you, the moderator, Popani. Now, Bishop, I have another question. Not one, series of questions coming, because when you read Psalms, there are 3 words that caught my understanding, caught my interest. There was the word covenant over there, the word eternal life over there, and then another word salvation. So I want us to deal with these 3 words, because these are the words which normally the so-called Christian. I mean, I understand Christianity to be an Euro-Gentile pagan philosophy mix-up and all that. Now, let's get back to the question. The question is, we understand that the new covenant, the first covenant was made with the nation of Israel. Now, I want you to speak about the second covenant, because my brother is a Methodist bishop, and he believes, when we have discussions, that the new covenant is with everybody. The new covenant is everybody. God has forgotten Israelites. He has dispersed them. To this point today, he believes that he's an Israelite. Now, because of the discussion, but he still believes, and he's still teaching even today, that being a Methodist priest, that the new covenant is with everybody, anybody. And eternal life, salvation is for anybody, everybody. I want you to react to that.
Yes. We're going to go to the New Testament, the book of Hebrews, chapter 8. Let me say this. You cannot repent as a Methodist. The Methodists, as the Baptists, as the Roman Catholics, are extensions, creations of white supremacy. White demonocracy. So the Lord is not dealing with any of that. So now let's prove that the new covenant is only for Israel.
Hebrews chapter 8 and verse 6. But now hath he obtained a more excellent ministry, by how much also he is the mediator of a better covenant, which was established upon better promises. For if that first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second. For finding fault with them, he saith, Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers,
meaning animal sacrifice,
in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt.
So the new covenant is only for Israel. And it says Israel and Judah because remember, we were split into 2 kingdoms, okay, from the time of Rehoboam, okay? So the new covenant, brothers and sisters, is not for all people. The Bible says Judah and Israel. That's it. You cannot add other races to it.
Right. So basically, you're saying that apart from, if you are not an Israelite, you cannot be saved.
That's right. Now, watch this. Go to Romans chapter 11, verse 1. Romans chapter 11, because the thought is that God did away with us. He cast us away.
Romans
that's what they
11,
teach.
verse 1. I say then, hath God cast away his people? God forbid. For I also am an Israelite, of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin.
Now, that's the New Testament. Let's show you that in the Old Testament, in Jeremiah 31:31. This is the prophecy. Okay, listen good, because the thought that Christianity, the white man, has pushed in the earth is that God destroyed the 12 tribes of Israel and they exist no more. That is wrong.
Jeremiah 31, verse 31. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break.
So that's what Paul was basing it on. Stay right there. Jump down to verse 35.
Verse 35. Thus saith the Lord, which giveth the sun for a light by day, and the ordinances of the moon and of the stars for a light by night.
Go ahead.
Which divideth the sea when the waves thereof roar. The Lord of hosts is his name. If those ordinances depart from before me, saith the Lord, then the seed of Israel also shall cease from being a nation before me.
You still see the sun, the moon, and the stars. So God said, if you can destroy the sun, moon, and the stars, then Israel would be no more. Read on.
Thus saith the Lord, if heaven above can be measured, and the foundations of the earth searched out beneath, I will also cast off all the seed of Israel for all that they have done, saith the Lord.
So the Lord said, if you can measure space, heaven, and if you can measure the sea beneath the ocean, then will I cast off Israel forever. This is why the white man goes to space to search it out. He's trying to measure it so God would destroy us. This is what the white man does on submarine, underwater research to try to search out and measure the sea beneath so that God will destroy Israel forever. But they can't do it. They don't have the technology. So Israel is still alive and in existence today. You heard that?
Okay, I heard you, sir. From what you just mentioned, I have 3 scriptures here. I would want you to read them out and then explain to the people. Genesis chapter 12, verse 2 and 3. That is the call of Abraham, and God gave Abraham his counsel in chapter 2, verse 2 and 3. And then Genesis chapter 18, Genesis chapter 22, verse 16 and 18.
Okay, let's go to Genesis 12 first. Read that 1 and 2.
Genesis chapter 12, verse 1 and 2.
1 and 3.
1 to 3. Now the Lord had said unto Abram, get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee. And I will make of thee a great nation, and bless thee, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee. And in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed.
Now, with that, when it says all families of the earth shall be blessed, it goes right back to the curses that Israel would be scattered amongst all nations on the earth. That's what it's talking about. Now, let's prove that. Give me Acts chapter 3, I think it is, or 2, the last few verses. Let's get the understanding of that. Okay? Acts chapter
Now, can you add chapter 22, verse 18 to it? And then
say that again, I'm sorry.
Genesis 22, verse 18. Can you get that one together and then you explain, because it's still speaking with Abraham and it's giving him his counsel.
Yes. Genesis 22, verse 18.
Yeah.
Genesis 22, verse 18. And in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because thou hast obeyed my voice.
Right.
So now, let's get the the scriptures the Christian church runs off of. Notice what's funny. Here's the hypocrisy behind it. In one voice, they tell us the 12 tribes of Israel are no more. But then they run to the blessings of Abraham. It makes no sense. How could the nations be blessed through Abraham's seed, but the children of Israel don't exist? Hypocrisy. Watch this.
Right.
Acts 3 verse 25. Ye are the children of the prophets, and of the covenant which God made with our fathers, saying unto Abraham, and in thy seed shall all the kindreds of the earth be blessed. Unto you first God, having raised up his son Jesus, sent him to bless you in turning away everyone of you from his iniquity.
Let's start at verse 24 to see who he's talking to.
Verse 24.
You're reading which chapter?
We're in Acts chapter 3.
Okay.
Acts chapter 3.
Right.
Acts chapter 3:24. Yea, and all the prophets from Samuel and those that follow after, as many as have spoken, have likewise foretold of these days.
Right.
Ye are the children of the prophets.
When he says ye are the children of the prophets, he says you Israelites, because the children of the prophets were only Israelites. Go ahead.
Ye are the children of the prophets, and of the covenant which God made with our fathers, saying unto Abraham, and in thy seed shall all the kindreds of the earth be blessed. Unto you first God, having raised up his son Jesus, sent him to bless you, in turning away every one of you from his iniquity.
So who is he talking to? The children of the prophets. The children of the prophets. He's not talking to the Philistines. He's not talking to the Moabites. He's not talking to the Ammonites. He's talking to the children of the prophets, the Israelites. Now, I'm going to prove that further. Let's go to Genesis 17. Watch this. We're going to read verse 5 to 7. Watch this, the blessing on Abraham. Go ahead.
Genesis 17 and verse 5. Neither shall thy name any more be called Abram, but thy name shall be Abraham. For a father of many nations have I made thee, and I will make thee exceeding fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee and thy seed after thee in their generations for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee and to thy seed after thee.
So now, Christians will use that and go, see, we're all blessed. But watch, the same blessing he gave Abraham, watch what he says to Abraham's wife, Sarah, in verse 15 and 16. Here's the proof it's only Israelites.
Verse 15, Genesis 17, verse 15. And God said unto Abraham, as for Sarai, thy wife, thou shalt not call her name Sarai, but Sarah shall her name be. And I will bless her, and give thee a son also of her. Yea, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of people shall be of her.
Did all people come out of Sarah's womb? No. Isaac came out of Sarah's womb. So the blessing that God gave to Abraham and Sarah was talking about Isaac, the seed that comes from Isaac. Okay? And then Isaac had Jacob and Esau. The blessing came on Jacob. Out of Jacob, the kings and all of them were the 12 tribes of Israel. All races didn't come out of Sarah.
You see, Bishop, at this particular moment, it is very, very, very important. You see, slavery happened to a particular people. But when it comes to the blessings, then their own understanding spins off. This is twisted logic.
Hello?
Hello, yeah. Can you hear me?
Go ahead. What'd you say?
I am saying that Israel suffered slavery.
Yes.
White did not enslave the Chinese man like you see the iron of the yokes on our necks.
Right.
Now, when it comes to the blessings, everybody is claiming it.
go back to Deuteronomy 28. Let me show you something. Deuteronomy 28, I want verse 43 to 45. Listen to what God says regarding the blessings and curses.
Deuteronomy 28, verse 43 to 45.
This is going to explain about the Chinese and other nations having an economic advantage over us.
The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee.
So that was it. So notice what the Lord said about the strange nations. He said the strange nations will get above you very high. The strange nations would lend to you. You would not lend to them. The strange nations would be the head, and you Israelites would be the tail. So Christianity has taken advantage of that prophecy and said, oh, we're under the blessings of God because we are economically blessed. That was a curse upon us. This is why they surpass us economically, okay? Because God prophesied the strange nations would get above us very high. You understand that?
Right. I have another question, and I want
Yes.
you to read Exodus chapter 12, verse 38.
Okay.
And then you read Acts chapter 7, verse 38. 36 and 38, and then I'll ask a question. Now let me even ask the question first, because you're going to read the verses. I'm reading Acts chapter 7, verse 37. I want to read 37. Acts chapter 7, verse 37. This is that Moses which said unto the children of Israel, a prophet shall the Lord your God raise up unto you of your brethren, like unto me. Him shall you hear. Okay?
Yes.
And then we read Exodus chapter 12, verse 38. We find a mixed multitude following Israelites coming out of the physical and then spiritual slavery. And
Yes.
Moses is making mention of the fact that the ministry of Christ is going to be a prophet, prophetically is going to be that of his. In other words, that prophet is not going to be Muhammad or no other person, but he's going to come out from the tribe, one of the tribes of Israel. And that prophet or that Messiah is going to work as Moses did. So when we study the ministry of Moses, we realize that Moses was a mediator to the first covenant. He was also a savior in some sense, and a savior in the sense that he was called at a time when Israel was in both physical and spiritual slavery. Physical is what bearing the burdens of slavery and then of labor, and then spiritually because they were not allowed to serve God the way they ought to serve. So he brought them out, and that is when the church was established with the first covenant. Now, when we look at the ministry of Christ, it's just the same as Moses. Christ is now bringing we, the children of Israel, particularly the Akans, meaning Akans, the Kwapim, the Asantis, the Fantis, the Interest, and all of them. We know ourselves. And the many other tribes, which is along the countries, I said tribes, along the countries in the West Coast, because the countries are made up of not only the children of Israel, but also the children of Ham, which are the Africans. And when you went to Ghana, you saw the distinction. Up to date, we don't marry them because we know who they are. And we know the history. I won't go into that. Now, my question is that when I look at the ministry of Moses, bringing the children of Israel out of both physical and then spiritual slavery, and then leading them into the first covenant, being the mediator of the first covenant. And I look at the ministry of Christ, the Messiah, and then he also bringing up, because we are in physical slavery as well as in spiritual slavery. And that is why we go to, I think Matthew, or one of the Gospels, speaks of the fact that we shall be delivered from our enemies. So that's a physical slavery when it has to do with less opportunity and all that. In America, you understand it. In Africa, we understand ours. So what I'm saying, the question is that when Moses came out with the nation, when he was sent into the nation of Israel, he was specifically or primarily, the instruction was go bring the Israelites out. He was never instructed to go and bring any other nation, neither even individuals accompanying him. The instruction was that go in there, bring only my children out. But we find out that in Exodus chapter 12, verse 38, a mixed multitude making up of one of even of other nation, which Moses even married one, and that's what do you call him? Miriam spoke against him, and she was punished with the leprosy of the white skin, which is the right. So the question is, we go to Revelation, you also see the tribes, the 12 tribes coming out, and then that is the 144, and then we find a mixed multitude also. Below, I think chapter 7 of Revelation, when you look down. My question is, when Moses brought the Israelites out, the mixed multitude followed, and they were not a nation, they were just 1, 2, or 3 people who had faith in the God of Israel, because to that point they didn't know the God of Israel, and they only knew the gods. It's unfortunate that the Bible, they used small g to denote God, but in the time of the ancient, God was God. Whether he was Ammon or he was Yahweh or Yahweh, they didn't know the distinction as we know today, that these are lesser gods. They are in fact angels, which men are worshiping them. So in that sense, when we go back into their minds, the 10 miracles that the God of Israel did through Moses was beyond their imagination. And because of that, they were moved to have faith. I use the word faith in the God of Moses. Let me put it this way. So because of the faith that they had, they followed Moses, not their nations, but individuals from all the other nations which were in Egypt. Let's not forget, before Jacob went into Egypt, the Bible said that God caused a famine in the whole earth. So in Egypt, it's like America. We had a conglomeration of all nations. Europeans, Greeks, all of them coming into Europe, to Egypt to have something to eat and then to survive. So we're looking at it as Egypt as the world. So Israel are coming out, and we find Moses performing his mission. Moses never went there to preach the gospel to the other nation. He preached only to Israel. But because the Israelites were in and among the world also heard the gospel. It's the same thing today. We go out to teach. I went home last month I was teaching, and I knew that these guys are Africans. These guys are from the children of Ham. But they were responding. You see? So my question that I want to put is that looking at the mission of Moses, the mixed multitude followed, and then we're looking at Joshua finally taking them to the promised land. The first thing he did was that he circumcised all of them, including the mixed multitude. Now, how do you react to today going out to teach as Israelites? Because we are raised in these last days, we be given the spirit to be able to teach the true gospel. In fact, everything you have taught is what is called gospel. Whatever they have been teaching is nothing than what we are teaching. Now, how do you explain that today Christ also have given us the spirit, because Moses had the same spirit we have today, and we've gone out to teach the people because we are mixed up with them. Like you look at, I think one of the prophets, Hosea was saying that Hosea, right, was teaching that Ephraim has mixed up himself with the people and has become an unturned cake and whatever. Now, it's very difficult today to be able to distinguish. But we know that when we go, we teach. The focus is our people. Now, how do you compare that mission to that of Christ? Can we say that when we go and then we bring out our people and the mixed multitude, not nations, but few of them have faith, and then they come in, we have to turn them out? Because when we look at Moses, the mixed multitude, they followed them right up to the time they entered into the land, and they were also included in the first covenant on Mount Sinai because they were there, and that is why they had to be circumcised with Joshua. I want you to react to this.
Okay. You went over a lot. I'm going to go through it by steps.
Okay.
The mixed multitude that came out with the children of Israel in Exodus 12. By the time you get to Leviticus, the Most High gave Moses laws concerning the mixed multitude. Get Leviticus 25:44.
The book of Leviticus, chapter 25, verse 44. Both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them shall ye buy bondmen and bondmaids. Moreover, the children of the strangers that do sojourn among you, of them shall ye buy, and of their families that are with you, which they begat in your land, and they shall be your possession. And ye shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you, to inherit them for a possession, that they shall be your bondmen forever. But over your brethren, the children of Israel, ye shall not rule one over another with rigor.
So God told Moses to tell the children of Israel, that mixed multitude that came out with you, they're to be your possession. They're your slaves, your servants. Many times, what people do today, we want to fall in love with these other nations and marry them. We are not to do so, okay? When we are in power, they will be our servants, our slaves.
Yeah, hello, yeah, Bishop. Hello.
Verse 1 to 3.
Okay, yeah.
Watch this.
Isaiah chapter 14, verse 1 to 3. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land. And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord, for servants and handmaids. And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. And it shall come to pass in the day that the Lord shall...
So, prophetically, when we get back to the land, when Christ brings us back to the land, the strange nations are going to go back in their place again. They will be our servants. They're not going to be equal with us at all. Okay? So now, that brings us to Revelation. I took you there. I showed you the history in Leviticus, and I showed you the prophecy in Isaiah. Now I'm going to go to Revelation chapter 14, because you made mention of the 144,000. Watch this. Revelation 14 and verse 1 I want? Yeah.
Revelation 14, verse 1. And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Zion, and with him 140 from heaven, as the voice of many waters.
Let's jump down to verse 4.
Verse 4. These are they which were not defiled with woman.
So the 144,000 are not defiled by woman, meaning philosophies. Go ahead.
For they are virgins.
They are virgins. Go ahead.
These are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men.
These were redeemed from among men. Men. That's what I wanted you to see. That the 144,000 are men. So now, when you go back to Revelation 7, because I want to clear up verse 9. I want to clear that up. Back to Revelation 7. Let's start at verse 4.
Verse 4. Revelation 7 and 4. And I heard the number of them which were sealed. And there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel.
The 144,000 are men. These are leading men of the nation. So where are the other men of Israel, the women and the children? Verse 9 explains them.
After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands.
So now who is this great multitude that came out of all nations? This goes right back to what we read earlier. If you remember, we read that Israel would be scattered in all nations. So now watch this, Isaiah 11 and 11. Okay, I'm going to show you something. Okay? This salvation is not for the strange nations to come up out of here with us.
Isaiah 11 and 11. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, and from Egypt, and from Pathros, and from Cush, and from and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel.
You see that? So God is gathering the outcasts of Israel. That's what Revelation 7 verse 9 is talking about. He's not saving the white man. He's not saving the Chinese. He's not doing that. He's having mercy on the Israelites scattered in slavery amongst these nations. That's what it's talking about.
Okay.
And gathered together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth.
Right. That's what it's talking about.
Right, thank you.
Okay.
Now, when we read Isaiah chapter 14, verse 1 to 3,
Yes.
it basically is giving us an idea or an image of the strangers being in the kingdom, but they are going to be subservient to us. Is that what you what? They are going to be subservient to the Israelites in the kingdom.
Yes, yes.
Right, so basically they will be in the kingdom, isn't it? Now my question is, what is the relationship between salvation and then being in the kingdom?
Salvation. Go to Luke chapter 1 and we're going to read verse 68 to 71. Many people don't understand salvation. The white man understands that. Most people don't understand salvation. That's why he has perverted the gospel. Watch this.
Luke chapter 1 verse 68. Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people, and hath raised up an horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David, as he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began, that we should be saved from our enemies, and from the hand of all that hate us.
You see that? That's the purpose of Christ, to save us from our enemies.
Right,
and
so
from the hand of all that hate us.
Right, so this is
Churches don't teach that. Christianity
Right.
doesn't teach that.
yeah.
But that's the truth.
Yeah. What I'm understanding with this one is we have the physical salvation where we shall be delivered from our physical enemies, and then secondly we have the spiritual salvation which has to do with conduct, which has to do with the keeping of the laws and the statutes, so the breaking of the sin and unrighteousness. And what I'm understanding from what you're teaching, you are making us understand, if I'm wrong you correct me, that the strangers shall be in the kingdom. They are going to have salvation, but when the kingdom is established, beginning in Jerusalem and taking over the whole world, finally they are going to be slaves. I think that is what Isaiah 14, 1 to 3 is saying. If not, then who are going to be the slaves in the kingdom? Who are going to be these slaves?
The slaves are going to be the other nations. Let me show you that.
Right, so which means that they are going to have salvation, because to be in the kingdom means to be resurrected, isn't it?
Watch this. I'm going to show you. In Revelation 2, we're going to read 25 down. I want you to understand, when we get delivered from the lands, the other nations are not going to be taken up with us. You know the church uses the word rapture? The other nations are not coming up with us.
Okay.
Those that are in America, for example, will all die. But there will still be strange nations left on the earth. Watch what's going to happen prophetically.
Okay.
Revelation chapter 2, verse 25, verse 26. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. As the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I received of my Father. And I will give him the morning star. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches.
So the blessing that Christ is going to give the Israelites is power. We're going to rule the nations with a rod of iron. That means we're not going to play with them. We're going to break them into submission, just like Joshua did. We're going to rule and dominate everybody. Now, watch this. Isaiah chapter 60 and verse 10. Watch this. Here it comes.
Isaiah chapter 60 and verse 10. And the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee. Therefore thy gates shall be open continually. They shall not be shut day nor night, that men may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles, and that their kings may be brought. For the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish. Yea, those nations shall be utterly wasted.
So when Christ sets up the government of Israel, the strange nations are going to serve us as slaves. Some more. Let's go to Zechariah chapter 14. I'm showing you the standpoint of the other nations. Zechariah 14 is about rain. You know what verse I want? Come on.
Zechariah chapter 14 verse 17. And it shall be that whoso will not come up.
Now let's start up 16. Let's start there.
Zechariah 14:16. And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the feast of tabernacles. And it shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. And if the family of Egypt go not up, and come not, that have no rain, there shall be the plague, whereas the Lord will smite the heathen that come not up to keep the feast of tabernacles. This shall be the punishment of Egypt, and the punishment of all nations that come not up to keep the feast of tabernacles.
So these nations which will be our slaves, we are going to force them and command them to keep the holidays of God. And whichever nation does not obey, they shall perish. When it says there shall be no rain in their land, that means drought. They're going to suffer so bad if they disobey us. The us is the 144,000 under Christ, okay? The Israelites. All nations will serve us, all of them. And whichever nation does not, they will suffer. They will perish. It's not going to be equal. They will not be equal to us in the kingdom at all. You will have a first class, second class, third class. I'm going to show you some more. Watch this. Go to the book of Joel, chapter 3, verse 6 through 8. I'm going to show you what's going to happen. No, you know what? Yeah, read that. Joel, chapter 3. We're going to read Joel, chapter 3. I'm going to show you how some nations are going to be released from slavery earlier than other nations. Joel, chapter 3, let's start at 6.
Joel 3, verse 6. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians.
So the children of Jerusalem and the children of Judah were sold to the white man. The Grecian says the white man. We were sold to the white man. Go ahead.
That he might remove them far from their border.
They removed us far from our border of Israel. Go ahead.
Behold, I will raise them out of the place whither ye have sold them.
Notice when it says, I will raise them out of the place whither you have sold them. That's the rapture. The rapture is going to be for the Israelites only. Go ahead.
And will return your recompense upon your own head.
Go ahead.
And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the children of Judah.
See that? They're going to be our slaves. Go ahead.
And they shall sell them to the Sabians.
And then we're going to sell certain nations to the Sabians, meaning the Sabians are going to be released from slavery earlier than other nations. That was it. So I'm showing you the chronological order of the kingdom, the class of the kingdom to come. This is what the white man is afraid of. He doesn't want that. And guess what? All white people after the 1,000-year reign of Christ will be destroyed. All of them burned up. Can I prove that?
Sure.
Let's go.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sure, yeah. You know,
Let's go to the
we
book.
deal with the precepts, so we learn about Bible speak instead of the mind of
Yes.
yeah.
Let's go to the book of Obadiah, verse 18.
Obadiah, verse 18. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord hath spoken it.
You see that? So salvation is not for everybody. Esau, the people of Edom, which is the white man, the Caucasian, they will totally be wiped off the earth. There will be no more of them in existence forever. This is what the prophecy says. So we cannot save them. They're not going to be saved. There's no salvation for them at all. Watch this, Romans 9:13. Paul warned us about Esau. Watch what Paul says about Esau.
Romans chapter 9, verse 13. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated.
You see that? So God hates Esau. So many times we get in our carnal mind and go, well, God is going to be merciful to all races. That's not true. He hates Esau. His prophecy is to destroy them forever. That's what's going to happen. Now watch this. Watch this. Psalms 149. I don't want your listeners to get scared or frightened over the prophecies because they've not learned the Bible yet, but they're learning it now.
Psalms 149 and verse 1. Praise ye the Lord. Sing unto the Lord a new song, and his praise in the congregation of saints. Let Israel rejoice in him that made him. Let the children of Zion be joyful in their king. Let them praise his name in the dance. Let them sing praises unto him with the timbrel and harp. For the Lord taketh pleasure in his people. He will beautify them with salvation.
Okay.
Let the saints be joyful in glory. Let them sing aloud upon their beds. Let the high praises of God be in their mouth, and a two-edged sword in their hand, to execute vengeance upon the heathen, and punishments upon the people, to bind their kings with chains, and their nobles with fetters of iron, to execute upon them the judgment written. This honor hath all his saints. Praise ye the Lord.
So you see the prophecy? The nations are going into slavery with chains.
Right.
There's not going to be no equality with
I have my
them.
last question because we have
Yes.
6 minutes and then we are done. Can you can you quickly go through Isaiah 19?
Isaiah 19.
Yeah, beginning from 18. You can decide to jump up and then just. I don't know if you've read that before. If you've read that before, just give us your understanding of Isaiah 19, beginning from 18. It's a long stuff, but
Isaiah 19, you said?
yeah.
And
That's my last question, and then if Papani will take over.
okay, what verse?
Beginning from 18 to 19, speaking about Egyptian Assyrians, speaking of the Father God, they are going to be entreated of God, and then they shall come to perform vows. I just want to briefly what you.
Yes.
Isaiah 19, verse 18. In that day shall 5 cities in the land of Egypt speak the language of Canaan, and swear to the Lord of hosts. One shall be called the city of destruction. In that day shall there be an altar to the Lord in the midst of the land of Egypt, and a pillar at the border thereof to the Lord. And it shall be for a sign and for a witness unto the Lord of hosts in the land of Egypt. For they shall cry unto the Lord because of the oppressors, and he shall send them a Savior and a great one, and he shall deliver them.
Right. Okay, so that's the verse you wanted, right?
Yeah, basically.
Okay. So the Savior, when you read historically, like when you check out Josephus, he talks about Onias, the high priest. However, it is double meaning because the Savior is going into Christ ultimately.
Yeah.
So now when it says the Egyptians shall cry because of the oppressor, who is the Egyptian that shall cry because of the oppressor? We read it earlier. Go back to Isaiah 11. Isaiah told you who the Egyptians were. That's going to cry to the Lord because of the oppressor.
Isaiah 11 and 11. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, and from Egypt, and from Pathros, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth.
So that's what Isaiah 19 is talking about. This is why it says, wisdom is the principal thing, but with all our getting, we must get understanding.
Yeah.
The real Egyptians are going into slavery. They're not being saved, but the Israelites among them shall be saved.
Okay.
I pray y'all understand that. I really, really do. I pray.
Yeah. We will certainly have you another time again. Well, that will be later. But then I'll turn over to Papani in the studios. I'm done.
Okay. Thank you very much, my listeners. I mean, you've heard from Bishop Nathanyel from Israel United in Christ, from the United States, and also from Papa Ed too. You know, we thank God so much. You know, this program is geared towards our people Israel and all the listeners who are listening. I think you've taken notes, and when you go home, behave like the Christians. Check from the Bible whether somebody is deceiving you, because from Matthew 24, Christ gave prophecy. He said, take heed that no one deceives you. And the deception is going to veer towards the elect. Who are the elect? Israel is the elect. So all the fabrication and the lies that we are teaching here, we are just elevating the minds of our people to know the truth, study the law, and to practice it. Is that right, Bishop?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So,
Yes.
Thank you very much for the insight that you've given to our people. But today is not going to be the last.
Okay, good.
Very often, we shall call you to participate in the program for the upliftment of our people and also our people serving in captivity.
Can you let your listeners know about the website, www?
Yeah, if anything you want to say, I think you can say it now.
Yeah.
For more information, visit our website at www.israelunite.org. It's free. Come learn your history, learn the truth like you've never heard it before. This is prophetic, brothers and sisters. This is the Lord saying he's returning us to our people, who we are. We're going to be united again as the 12 tribes of Israel under Christ, and we shall rule and dominate the earth.
Yeah, any program you're working on in Ghana, you can also inform the people so that they can, when they get back to Ghana, they can have access to it.
Yes, Lord's Well Life Last, we should be in Ghana
January 23rd.
January 23rd, we should be out there for about 2 weeks, Lord's will.
Okay.
So meet us from Kumasi. We'll be from Kumasi to Accra, and if there are any other places y'all want us to come teach, let us know. So we'll do it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Bishop. I think I'll get in touch with you after the program, and we have some few discussions behind closed doors.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your participation.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you so much, both of you.
Welcome.
God bless you both.
Shalom.
God bless you.
Shalom. Shalom. God bless you. Shalom.
Okay. For say Mati near Bishop Nathanyel, Israel United in Christ. Now near here can say teachings na teaching ama or my Israel. Etuntum for na sorry no na the white Jesus atario. All these teachings comes from or is it's an extension of white supremacy, and this the salvation is for Israel scattered abroad, the lordship of the house of Israel. Next week by this time, next week we have